Big Bill. That really is what we're going with. Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Chase and today I will be reviewing AEW Dynamite Winter is Coming, which features the Elite versus the Death Triangle 4, as well as Ricky Starks versus MJF for the AEW World Championship and a huge upset win. As always, I'll be giving you my hot takes on all the matches, as well as letting you in on what I was the biggest fan of in the show. But before we get to that, make sure you give me a follow on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, which are all at Stephanie M. Chase. Also check out my OnlyFans and merch, which is linked below, and check out my new Patreon to support this channel, and of course subscribe to this channel. Yes, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you always know when I post a new video. Now, let's get to Winter is Coming, and we started off with the Elite versus the Death Triangle, the fourth match in their best of 7 series. Now, they have tried to make every match different, and for this match, the story that they told was Nick injuring his ankle, and he was even taken to the back during the match, and Death Triangle still wanting to use the hammer. I thought this was a very good match. It was fun. I do think they maybe think they're making the matches a little bit more different than they actually are, just because of the nature of how these two teams work together. I think the matches have been more samey than maybe the teams involved would want them to have been. I did think the storyline with Nick was pretty good, him being taken to the back. Matt was also taken out as well at one point, and Kenny was in there on his own, but he did look pretty, he was pretty competent really going up against Death Triangle. But the end of the match saw Nick come back in it, but he ended up being hit in the ankle with the hammer by Penta, and then Phoenix submitted him. So the hammer has been an ongoing storyline in all of these matches, and because of that, Kenny Omega afterwards went on the microphone and said that next match he wanted all weapons to be legal. So the next match in this series will be no disqualification. Later on in the night, we were then told that match 5 will be no disqualification, and then match 6, if it's necessary, will be a falls count anywhere, and then the final match 7, if necessary, would be a ladder match. We then had a segment from the AEW Tag Team Champions, the Acclaimed. They came out, Max was doing his usual rap, but they were attacked by Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Jeff Jarrett. Max Caster was eventually laid out by Jeff Jarrett with a guitar shot, and he said, "Scissor this, slap nuts." Yes, that was scissor this, slap nuts. I have to say, I really don't know why they are going in this direction, having Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett as challengers for the Acclaimed. There are so many good tag teams in AEW that are underutilized. Like I was talking about in my review of Final Battle, Daddy Magic and Cool Hand, Angelo Parker are really the main team that I think are underutilized, who I think would go so well doing a feud with the Acclaimed, rather than having Jeff Jarrett eating up the screen time here. We also had a promo in the back from the JAS, so it was notable here that Jericho said that tonight he was facing a jobber in a tune-up match, so remember that one. And also, he told Daniel Garcia, who lost the pure title, of course, at Final Battle, that he would have to shadow his elder, Sammy Guevara, and Daniel Garcia looked as happy about this as I would be if I was told I was shadowing Sammy Guevara. Another fun match next, we had Jungle Boy versus Brian Cage. I'm never that high on Brian Cage, but this is kind of a good spot for him being the big man. Jungle Boy, you know, coming off the match he had with Luchasaurus in the cage, he's still going after the Giants. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. The crowd were into it. It was a great crowd all round. Last night after the match, Jungle Boy said he wanted the biggest bitch of them all, and that is Big Bill. Yes, W. Morrissey, which was a bad name, is now Big Bill, an even worse name. I don't get it. But anyway, he called out Big Bill. Stokely Hathaway came out with Lee Moriarty. They beat down Jungle Boy. And then, who should turn up but Hook? Hook with his Action Bronson theme that somehow is my most played song on Apple Music of 2022. Like, I know I like it, but I didn't know I liked it that much. Anyway, it was awesome to see Hook. The crowd Absolutely loved him. So it now looks like we have a Hook and Jungle Boy alliance for the ladies. So I'm completely behind that. We saw the Blackpool Combat Club cut a promo backstage. Yes, Blackpool Combat Club still together. We then had a quick match with the House of Black, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews, who were with the always amazing looking Julia Hart, defeat the team that you always defeat if you want a win. The Factory, Aaron Solo, Cole Carter, and Nick Comrado with QT Marshall. Yeah, just a quick victory for the House of Black. They're back, their faces. They're still dark and spooky, but their future is bright. Next, probably the biggest talking point coming out of the show. It was Chris Jericho versus Action Andretti. Now, you may be asking yourself, who is Action Andretti? Action Andretti is a 24-year-old wrestler who, last night when I first looked at his Twitter, had 2,496 followers, and now he has 7,613 followers. Action Andretti also had a match on Dark against QT Marshall. That was back in October. According to Dave Meltzer, Jericho saw this match and decided that he was going to make Action Andretti a star. And by God, did he ever do it. So earlier in the night, we heard Jericho refer to Action as some jobber, and that's kind of how he was treated at the beginning. He didn't get an entrance. They actually put the wrong nameplate up for him even, so we didn't even get his name written down. It actually came up Chris Jericho under him, which just kind of actually added to it. It was a mistake that worked. Early in this match, Jericho, he was like pie-facing him, slapping him, just not taking him seriously at all. And you know, the crowd were having fun, chanting like, "You tapped out at Jericho because he tapped out to the swing." They were chanting for the jobber, but no one really believed that Action had a chance until he kicked out of the codebreaker. And at that point, this match totally turned around. At that point, the crowd were all of a sudden like, "Oh my gosh, we're actually watching an important match here. We're not just watching a main event star take on some jobber. Something is going to happen here." But as the match continued, there were even more spots where it looked like Jericho was about to get the win. And every time it felt like the crowd, they just knew Jericho was going to win. And then when he didn't, they just got even more excited, and like the atmosphere got more and more. I would have loved to have been there to see this one live because the crowd just seemed like crazy into it. At one point, Action went for a split-legged moonsault, but Jericho got his knees up, but then he ended up missing the Judas effect. Yeah, he missed hitting the Judas effect on Action. At one point, Jericho teased the walls of Jericho, but Action rolled him up. But the match came to an end when young Action, hit a standing shooting star press and pinned Chris Jericho completely clean. No underhand tactics, no like flash pin. He just pinned him clean. It was awesome. He could not believe that he had won. Like the acting, the selling from both in this match was incredible. And Andrade was great at playing that babyface. I can't believe what happened. Jericho had this great look of just absolute shock and disbelief on his face. It was an amazing performance from both guys. Andrade like ran away, leaping into the crowd. Of course, this match is going to be compared to Razor Ramon and the 1-2-3 Kid, but like this was way more competitive than that match. Like this was less of something that looked like a fluke and more of just like this kid found something within himself to beat Chris Jericho. Maybe it's that mixed with like Jericho kind of suffering the defeat at the weekend, but this was just amazing, and a star is born here in Action Andretti, and it's going to be so cool to follow his story, because how often do you see someone like debut on TV that strong, like an absolute living legend, putting them over clean in the middle? Amazing stuff. Afterwards, Jericho had a tantrum backstage. It was very WCW 97 reminiscent. I was into that. So we'll see where that storyline goes for him. But we will surely be seeing a lot more of Action Andretti after an amazing performance last night on Dynamite. Next up, we had a quick match between Ruby Soho and MELO. This was won by Ruby Soho with the Destination Unknown. Perfectly fine match, and it looks like next for Ruby Soho is Anna Jay. Then we had a great promo backstage from Hangman Page, where he explained what it was like getting knocked out by Jon Moxley in October. It was really emotional. He basically said that he was in the ambulance, he was starting to come to, he was starting to remember things, and then he was unlocking his phone and the medic saw a photo of his son and asked him what his son's name was, and he couldn't remember. And it was really sad, and it was really well done by Hangman. And it was the promo that was needed for this feud. I mean, I never had a problem with Hangman going after Moxley, but there were a lot of people asking questions about why. And this is why. It is because of what Moxley did to Hangman. He knocked him out, what it cost him, and like the hell, as he called it, that he went to after that match with Moxley. And finally, in our main event, Ricky Starks versus MJF. This was a really good match. I think that Starks put on a great performance. He rose to the occasion like he has in his promos. The crowd heat was all over it, even though, you know, the result was obvious. This was a winner takes all match, so it was for both the belt and the Dynamite Diamond Ring. The ending here came when Starks tried a Rochambeau, but MJF hid behind referee Paul Turner. Starks shoved the referee away, and MJF hit a low blow and then rolled up Starks to seal it. So he stole the victory from Ricky Starks. At least he didn't pin him clean, because Starks did such a great job on that promo last week. It would be awful to see him just completely, you know, get nothing against MJF. And I thought he had a really good showing in this match. And he's someone that I can't wait to see where he goes next and who they pick as his next opponent, because after the match we found out that it looks like MJF's next opponent really is Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan came out to confront MJF, and MJF ran. He ran all the way into the stands, all the way to the back, and that is how we went off air. And there you have it, an absolutely fantastic edition of AEW Dynamite. Like, really, I felt that the past couple of weeks have been really good, but this was really the one. I think this was really like a great almost reset after all the Ring of Honor stuff that we have. We now have, you know, a new direction for Jericho. Not totally sure what it is, but it was something new there. We have MJF, like his next challenger, it's going to be Daniel Bryan. We had more stuff on the Hangman and Moxley. It was just a good episode overall. That crowd were so into it, and rightly so. There was so much to enjoy in the show, and it just felt like a classic episode of Dynamite, and it's definitely one that I'm going to remember for a long time, thanks to the Jericho Action Andretti match. And as for what I was the biggest fan of on the show, of course, I'm going to give it to not only Action Andretti, but Chris Jericho as well. Two wrestlers who both played their roles in this match perfectly and created a really great AEW moment. That was a fabulous match. It was a fabulous idea, but the way the story was told was just wonderful. The way they got the crowd into it, these two had the crowd in the palm of their hands. They built up that match perfectly to get their reaction. So congratulations, Action Andretti and Chris Jericho. And that's all from me for this time. Don't forget to go follow me on all my social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Stephanie M. Chase. Check out my OnlyFans, Patreon, and merch linked below. And please subscribe to this channel. I got quite a few new subscribers this week, so that made me really happy. And yeah, join me again next week for my Dynamite review. Bye!